Today I want to walk you through a new tool that I've been using called Herdr. Herdr is a terminal multiplexer designed specifically for use with coding agents. It's available on macOS and Linux and also has a Windows beta available as well. If you use a tool like Tmux, you'll find yourself right at home using it. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and grab this curl script to go ahead and install. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in, and it's going to go ahead and install pretty quickly, and we can just run Herdr to get started. So when I do this, you're going to see a pane open, which is running the terminal multiplexer. So if you're not familiar with a terminal multiplexer, what that means is it's a system or tool that allows you to actually have multiple terminal sessions open in a single terminal window, as well as have features like have a server running in the background so that if you close something, you can actually reactivate it without losing all of your progress. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit. So you can see here we have the middle pane here is the actual terminal. So I can go ahead and run ls or any kind of commands. And I can go ahead and see on the left what is called spaces, which is short for workspaces. On the bottom, there's a set of agents as well, which we'll take a look. Now, the terminal multiplexer here has a what is called a leader key. And if you're again used to Tmux, it's the same default there. So if I do Control B, that brings it up. And one of the nice things that I like about Herdr is what you can see down here in the bottom, which is it provides you a lot of help to understand and get used to the shortcuts. So Control B shows me that I can do a few different things to kind of get started. So the first one is question mark now to go ahead and open up the key bindings. Here we can go through and see all of them. And one of the other nice things about Herdr is that it's mouse native. So you can see here I'm moving my mouse. I can actually scroll inside of this window, inside of the Herdr UI, and use my mouse to do it. But you can also use the key bindings as well. So I can use page up, I can use Vim key bindings for JK, or the arrow keys as well. I can even filter down to know what kind of key bindings there are. So I can type in and go ahead and look for the workspace shortcuts. So we can see here I can do enter to open a workspace. And for workspaces and tabs, we can see prefix W. That means if I do Control B, then W, I can go ahead and move into the workspace navigation. Or prefix Shift N will create a new workspace for me. Let's go ahead and close that out. The other thing we can take a look at is the settings. So if I do key bindings, let's look for settings and prefix S. So if I go ahead and Control B, S, I can now see all the settings. I can take a look at the different themes that are available. So I'm using Capuchin, but you can go ahead and scroll through a bunch of other ones that are available as well. And you can also have sound alerts. So you can be alerted by sound when something needs your attention. We'll see a little bit more about that, including. And there's also toast. So we can do toast notifications for alerting us that something needs help with or that something needs our attention. And we can do either, right now they're set to off. I can have some inside of Herdr via the terminal or via the system. Let's go ahead and enable via the terminal or via Herdr. Then there's integrations. So we can see here that there are several that are available that are kind of installed right now at this point. So these are ways to get your terminal agent ready for using Herdr. So for my purposes, I'm going to go ahead and install some of the integrations. So you do Herdr, integration, install, and I can say Claude. That's going to go ahead and set up the Claude Code integration for Herdr. And I'm going to go ahead and integration install Codex. So that will also allow me to configure Codex for you. So it installs some hooks and some Codex config as well. And I'm going to do Herdr integration install Pi to set up the Pi coding agent. So now if I go ahead and open up Herdr, those are all set up. Now, one other thing I recommend you do as well is install the agent skill. So we can go ahead and grab this from the docs, which I will link in the description, drop that in. So it's going to use npx skills add and install it globally. So go ahead and make sure when you do this, you select whatever coding agents you want to have it configured with. Of course, the universal will be installed in .agent skills in your home directory, and then also Claude Code, because I'm using this in the global configuration so that any session has it. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Symlink and proceed with the install. So now that we have those things installed, we can kind of take a look at what we can do. I'm going to go ahead and go into Emma's codebase, and we can see now that the spaces over here has linked out Emma. So I'm going to pop up the shortcuts again to bring up worktrees. And so Herdr has some built-in worktree support to work within worktrees. So we can do Control B, Shift N will create a new one. Control B, Shift G will create a new worktree. And so once we've done that, we can see we can give it a branch name and where it will check out. So by default, it puts it in the home directory in a .herdr/worktrees folder, and then for the repo. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that default. And what we can see now is we have a folder underneath here representing the other work tree. So to show that some more, if I go back over here and do the same thing and make another one, we can now see that we have multiple work trees that I can kind of click through or use my mouse to go navigate on and interface with them. So this is a workspace, MV3 is a workspace, and these are separate work trees that are set up for it. And so if I were to launch Pi right here, I'm going to go ahead and, because we have the agent skill, ask about Herdr's ability to manage the work tree. So what open work trees are there in Herdr for Emma v3? So this will go ahead and run and check and find back using the CLI what the different pieces are. So you can see that I invoked that skill that I installed earlier to understand how to work with Herdr, and it's going to go ahead and run some commands. The first try ended up failing, but it will go through and find the list. So we can see here that there are 3 different. WA is the main one, WB is Brave River, and WC is Rapid River. So I'm going to go ahead and instruct it to do something and spawn an agent inside of there. Start a new Pi agent inside of WB work tree to scan the past 10 commits and verify that we have proper documentation up to date. So that should then now cause the Pi agent here to spin up another session or another Pi session inside of that worktree. So we can see that it started here. So we can see an agent has been propped up on the bottom. So this bottom panel is the agents that we have open. And right now it's set to group, but I can actually go by priority, and it has different status symbols. So this icon here, the kind of like reddish color, means that it's in progress. There's something happening. And over here, the green one means it's idle. So we're watching here as it's going ahead to understand what to do. So basically it started the agent. And if we were to kind of dive into that, we can see there's not really anything happening until now we can see the paste of the prompt that it sent it along. And now this has changed into an in progress status as well. And so we can see that it sent the command Herdr agent prompt docs audit is the name of the session, which we can see here on the left under the agents and what it's doing. So it's going to go ahead and now monitor this for what's happening inside of there. So these are the 2 agents that are running simultaneously. Now I can go ahead and do my leader key, which is Control-B, Shift-N to start a new workspace. And I'm not going to do this inside of here because that wouldn't really make sense. But if I go to Envoy v2, we can see now I can go ahead and work through the different workspaces. So if you've been using the Codex app at all, it's kind of similar to the projects configuration there. So this is a nice way to be able to go ahead and actually interface with different projects and different agents at the same time. And we can see that we monitor and that we got a notification here that the work tree is done. So we can go ahead and hit Control W to go through here. We can see the green dots and grab this as well. And so here we can see all of the work. And we get an instant kind of notification as to the status of where things are. And once I click into it, you can see that it went from that filled in green to the empty green. So it's done and we've acted upon it. So that was an example of getting it kind of fresh and set up. Here's another scenario where I have a bunch of different agents kind of set up on this other machine, and each one of them is set up with some different things. So here, this one has a work tree. Some of them do not. If I go into here, we can see an example of tabs at the top. So these are set up inside of this workspace, and you can spawn other agents inside of here as well, and organize them in this manner too. And another example is here where I can also have these splits. So I can go ahead and split inside of a single pane, just very similar to Tmux, and have multiple side-by-side things going on. And I can come in here and actually go ahead and ask to, for instance, start the remotion server in a new tab within this Herdr workspace. And so that should go ahead and trigger a new Herdr tab, which will go ahead and start the remotion server for us. So we can see here it's running Herdr tab create, and it gave it a name, remotion dev, and it went ahead and started that server for us. So another example of using Herdr to go ahead and organize things. Now, one of the other pieces that Herdr has is a rich plugin system that you can actually add new plugins to. And there is a marketplace for finding them. So we can go ahead and visit the marketplace, and here you can search for all these different kinds of plugins, and there are a lot available. So one such plugin that I've been looking to start working with is one for scheduling things. So I do like the Codex Automations or Claude Code routines, and I want to have something in the command line that I can do similarly. And so we can see there's several different options available to us that we can try out. So if we go, we can see here, there's Herdr Automations, which is a cron for your coding agents. So we can set up similar kind of feature inside of there. And so if we go ahead and we grab this, we can go see how to install it. So we can go ahead and paste this in and run the install for the Herdr Automations. So we go ahead, we can see all the information, run Y to install the plugin, and there it's installed. So like I mentioned before, if you have Herdr running and say you accidentally close your terminal, typically you might be lost or have lost all of your sessions that were going, and that's one of the benefits of a terminal multiplexer. This isn't special just to Herdr, but it is a nice benefit. So if I just run Herdr, because the server was running in the background, I can just run Herdr again, and it will just pop everything back up and restore the state back to where I was. And if I do Control-B-Q, that will close it or detach us from the server. One of the other things that Herdr supports is remote access. So if I do remote and connect here, this is a server that I have that I'm connecting to over SSH. So you can go ahead and do this in one of two ways. Like you could have just run SSH onto that machine and started Herdr that way, which is perfectly reasonable. Or you can run it through Herdr itself as a kind of thin client on top of it. Now, why would you want to do that? So one of the benefits of here is specifically the ability to paste in images. So if I were to take a screenshot and send that along, we can go ahead and see what would happen. So let's go ahead and create a new tab. And so I'm going to do Control-B-C, that popped this up. And so one of the nice things is you can actually name your tabs, which is something that's better, a bit nicer than what you can do inside of Tmux, which you have to kind of go through hoops to kind of rename things. So I'll just say image test, and we can see that there. I'm going to pop up Pi. So remember, this is a server that I'm running on. I'm connected to remotely via SSH. And if I were to go ahead and try to trigger, go ahead and take a screenshot here. And once that's ready, I can now actually go ahead and paste. And that is going to send that into the Herdr session for us. So I was able to send the image across the SSH connection. So not something I would have been able to do if I was just SSHing onto the machine and then manually starting Herdr. No, this is a benefit of using the thin client to connect remotely to it. So that is a look at Herdr and how you can kind of get started, what the benefits are, and how the plugin system works. There's a bunch of plugins available. There's some Vim keybinding navigation plugins. There's some other kind of a built-in browser you can use, and all sorts of things. And again, the docs list everything that you can do, so you can make your own plugins if you want as well, which is super easy to use and very useful. So yeah, check it out if you are looking for a way to organize your agents or work with multiple agents inside of the terminal very easily. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.